Hello, I'm Dwayne McCrary. I want to share with you a little bit about the importance of enrollment. The past few months, I've been monitoring my weight. The problem was I was gaining weight. Now, that was happening even though I was riding 100 miles or so a week on my bicycle. I was getting the sleep and I was even counting my calories. But something was missing. The problem was I wasn't monitoring the type of calories I was eating or when I ate them. Once I started doing that, tracking the what and the when of what I was eating, I got my weight back in control and got it to the level that I needed. Folks call those lead and lag measures. The book Four Principles of Execution talk about that. A lead measure is something that produces the lag measure. In my case, losing weight is the lag measure. The lead measure was the number and the kinds of calories that I ate. If you're familiar with systems analysis, that's another way of saying a feedback loop. It's what controls the whole process. The end result are controlled by these other things. When we look at a church, we look at the church attendance, we may see a church is doing many of the right things, but it's obvious by their attendance, because it's declining, that something is missing. There may be a variety of things. I can tell you that there are at least three things that are important to track that determine whether a church is growing or declining. The first thing is the number of weekly contacts. One church I served, we averaged 200 or so in Sunday school. I began to track the number of contacts we made weekly, and what I discovered was if we had made 400 contacts during a week, our attendance would be at 225 or greater. If we made less than 400 contacts, then our attendance was 200 or less. So instead of tracking attendance, we began to track contacts, because we knew if the contacts were above 400, our attendance would take care of itself. Another thing that needs to be tracked is the number of new groups. Now, by new groups, I mean groups that are in addition to what you already have. Combining two current groups to make a new group is a step backwards. So many times we forget about the importance of starting new groups. Some people may fight it. Some people may think it's something of the past. But trust me, one of the factors that determines whether a church is growing or not is whether they're starting new groups. A third thing is enrollment, which is really what this particular video is about. Enrollment feeds everything else that's happening in the church. By enrollment, I mean enrolling people anywhere and everywhere. When you have a guest in your class, instead of offering right off the bat the opportunity for them to fill out a guest registration form, ask them if you could go ahead and register them and enroll them in the group first. If they say no, then go ahead and take that second approach and then just register them as a guest. But give them the opportunity to tell you no to enrolling them in the group. You may have neighbors. You may share with your neighbors. You may be talking to your neighbors, and you may ask them if you could enroll them in a Bible study group if you find out they're not involved in one. You could be standing in the line at a grocery store, and while you have a conversation with someone in front of you or behind you, you discover they're not involved in a Bible study group. You could go ahead and enroll them then at that point. One of the things that I have learned over the years is that when you enroll somebody in a group, about 1 out of 3 will become an active member of your church. True, there'll be, that's 2/3 that do not become a part, but 1/3 will. And that's an important thing to think about. There's no other real way I know of to grow a Bible study group without enrolling people anywhere and everywhere. Arthur Flake, he was the first director of Sunday school at Lifeway. That happened in around 1920. And he talked a lot about enrollment. In fact, he was a champion about enrolling people in Bible study groups. He wrote a book entitled The 10 Functions of the Sunday School, and in it he talked about the importance of enrolling people. Let me just read what he has to say here. The name of every man, woman, and child in this community who is a stranger to grace should be in the possession of the church and the pastor. It is very much easier to become intensely concerned about the salvation of the souls of people when we know them personally, who they are, and where they live. Billy Smith may be the only one of 100 lost people in the community. Billy Smith may be only one of 100 lost people in the community. However, the chances of winning Billy Smith to Christ are multiplied 100-fold when we have his name, age, and address, and know by his testimony that he is a lost man. Think about that. By enrolling folks, we know who to pray for. We know how to pray for them. We have a name of somebody that we can go contact and make a priority in our weekly visits. Enrollment is really just a start. It's a start for the church, and it's a start for the person who has expressed an interest in being enrolled. It's a start for the church in that now you have names of people, you know how to pray for them, you know where they live, so you know where to go make a contact, but you also know what new groups that need to be started and what kind of leaders need to be recruited to start those new groups. It's the first step. For that person who's enrolled, it's the first step for them too. Remember, they're allowing you to enroll them in a Bible study group. What they're really telling you is they are interested and they want to be a part. That is their first step. It's up to us to help them define the second step. All of that starts with us enrolling people anywhere and everywhere. Being honest, if we want to have a growing church, if we want to reach our communities for Christ, then the first thing we must do is start enrolling people who are not a part of a Bible study group.